way of moving us into a divine rightness. And so on my script, it says to begin with a short talk on love. I think that it's just really interesting that the title, Gay's title this morning was going to be Evolved People. I didn't know that. So this morning, and well, last night I started my prayer work, and this morning I'm saying, okay, God, what do I talk about? This is a beautiful morning. It's a beautiful day. The message of the ongoingness of life is a fabulous message. And each one of us gets to take that message and hold it in our hearts and live it in the very highest way that we can. And so, thinking in terms of evolved people, I can't think of any people that are more evolved than those who absolutely know their oneness with God and absolutely hold that oneness in their own truth and move in the livingness of that truth. Years ago, I had a death experience. I call it my first death experience because always before that, it was, small child, friends of the family kind of thing. Because death is always a part of life. It's the ongoingness of life. And it's just, I wish it had a different name because it is such a beautiful thing. 8 weeks ago, day before yesterday, we had a new life come into our family. I have a new little great-granddaughter. She's just adorable. Your babies are always the prettiest and the sweetest and the most cooperative, and she's like that. And she's just the cutest little thing, little rosy cheeks and little sort of curls, which she might have because there are curls in the family. Not all the family, but some of the family there are curls. And she has those curls to start out with, and she's just so cute. And I was looking at her, and you know how when you look in a baby's eyes, there's just eternity in a baby's eyes. And these beautiful blue eyes that are the same color as her dad's. And she's just looking back, and just whoever's looking at her, she's just studying. And I'm saying to myself, this is so fabulous. This is the ongoingness of life. And whenever I see a new baby, I always think, I wonder where you came from. I wonder if the people that you have left or the beings you have left are happy that you're taking another step into your progression of life, or if they're sad because you're gone. And I never have an answer for that. But as I watched her and the blessing that she is to our family, it was just like life is saying to me, this is the beauty, this is the ongoingness of life. Love it, enjoy it. Know there's absolute divine rightness in it. And so I'm fresh with that new idea. And I was thinking about an experience that I had many years ago, 1972, a lot of years ago, when I had a magnificent man in my life who left early. He was 40, I was 39, and he had a massive heart attack, and he was gone, just like that. We'd been together, we'd been married for 19 years. We had 3 great kids, you know some of them. And the loss of that, it just rocked me back on my heels. And yet I knew in my heart of hearts that there was only life. There is only life. And because we were together in this teaching, we had a very strong belief in life after life. And so when he left, it was like, I'll see ya, because I know I will. And I have seen him. And what I want to share, a part of the message that I want to share this morning, is that those of us who have the gift of life on this planet at this point in time, that we have a choice, that as our acquaintance or loved one goes on into their next experience, we can choose to maintain that relationship, or we can let it go. And over the years, I have had both of those experiences with different people, of course. But the thing is that when my husband left, we had 3 teenagers. I now had 3 teenagers and a whole new experience of being head of the household. And it was a challenge. But I knew he was with me, and I knew I could connect up with him. And we would have conversations. In my head, I'd call him and say, hey, I've got this problem. And whenever I got backed into a corner, I would call on him, and he would be there. And I could feel his presence. And over the years, he's still with me. And I still call upon him, because I still get backed into a corner now and again. But there is always a feeling of oneness. There's always a feeling of wholeness. And there's always a knowing that life is ever present. It goes on. I know that he's doing his thing. I'm doing mine. And someday, God willing, we'll run across each other again. I think we will. Because I've always thought that he was soulmate. And so I just feel so strongly that we as individuals, knowing the power and the beauty of life itself, and the divine intention of connection is there for all of us. And I know that for Gay and her family, as they say goodbye to her sister, that it's more like a so long. They can choose to maintain that relationship. You would much rather have them in person. You'd much rather be able to reach out and hug them. That's not going to happen. But that wholeness, that oneness, that knowingness that they are with you and that you can extend that relationship is just super important for all of us. And I don't think people talk about this very much. And I don't think that, well, the people that I know, all pretty much New Thought people, are very much into this lovely ongoingness of life. And I have always felt that our beloveds move on the wings of love. And that has always been my affirmation for those of us that are left behind to make do until we see our loved ones again, that they are busy about their Father's business, their God's business, and they are developing more and more of what we are developing through our awareness here on planet Earth. They are taking and extending and moving on. I had the opportunity, there's a wonderful couple of people that were always very important to me. And I don't know if you know of their work or not, but oh great, now their name just went out of my head. I'll think of it in a minute. But they were writers. They wrote New Thought, beautiful New Thought books. And I've used a lot of their books in my own training and in my teaching. And the wife had a near-death experience. And the husband and wife came to my church when I had it down in Mission Valley and did a seminar for us. And her part of the seminar was her near-death experience. And it was very dramatic. They lived out in the country in Texas, and she had a heart attack, and they called a helicopter, and they flew her into Houston or someplace, and saved her life at some very fancy hospital. And she told her story in our seminar that night. And her story was that she awoke in a beautiful place, she said it was luxurious, it was like a hotel. And she awoke, and she was guided out to see this most beautiful area. She said the buildings were gorgeous. They were all made out of like marble, and they were libraries. She was a scholar, and there were libraries, and there were places to study, and there were places to gather and kind of conferences. And she said it was so wonderful, and they took her in, and she got to spend time in the library, and she was so thrilled because, and I always wondered about this, but was her experience, that she said the first being that she met when she walked out of this lovely place was their little dog that they had dearly loved and had made its transition a few months before she made hers, but it stayed. She didn't. But there was her little dog. She was so thrilled to see it, and the little dog stayed with her all the time she was on the other side. And she said it was so lovely, and everybody was so nice, and their guides were so nice, but she was told she couldn't stay. She had work to do. She had to come back and do it. And so she did come back. She wrote a book about it and about her experience, and it was a very real experience. And when you hear somebody share that kind of an experience, and she came back okay, and now both she and her husband are gone, simply because sometimes we turn hundreds, 105, however long we're going to hang out on this planet, we hang out, and then our soul says it's time. And when our soul says it's time, it's time. And Gay's sister's soul has said it's time. So we accept the it's time. And we accept that there is life after life. And we accept that there is an ongoing of our experience. And ultimately, we don't know if we wind up starting in a new being again. If we start in a new little baby's body and start over again, there are a lot of religions that think you do. There are a lot that don't. And so we just believe what we believe. And whatever it is we believe is just fine. Because ultimately we are going to be guided into the next path that we are on. And I just hope that it's more of the same. Because I hope that we move into this place that she experienced that was beautiful and lovely, and then we're guided on into our next experience of what it is that we're to love, what it is we're to do, what it is we're to experience. And some people believe that through reincarnation, and some people don't. Does it matter? No. What matters is if you get a message and there's something for you to do, and you say, oh my gosh, what will I do? Which happened yesterday. It's like, oh my gosh. Okay, God, let me know. What should we do? What should we share? I didn't know I was going to share these stories until I walked up here, because I have a whole talk put together that doesn't have these stories in it. And this talk is based on this book, which I dearly love. It's called Drawing the Larger Circle, and it's about love. It's all about, do you have this book? Jack Addington wrote this book. You know Jack? Jack was terrific. He founded a couple of 3 religious science churches in San Diego. He was an attorney besides being a minister, and he was one of the nicest guys that you could ever meet. He was a writer, and he wrote scads of books. His major book was called Psychogenesis, and it was a textbook. Still is a textbook. I have one. And he was a bit older than I am, and he left this planet. But when he left, when he decided he didn't want to do church anymore, and he had a radio ministry that broadcast around the world 5 days a week. Just, you stop and think about doing that 5 days a week for years. Think of the flow that he had. Because if you are doing radio or any kind of technology now, television, anything, there aren't enough hours in the day to sit down and write a talk. And if you are doing 15 minutes or a half an hour or an hour, 5 days a week, there's no way that you can just do that. You have to have a personal connection with the divine, and you have to say, okay, what are we going to do today? I know, because I did that for about 5 years. And that was a gift to me from Spirit, because I had no idea that I would be called to do something like that. Because my challenge, I couldn't express myself. I was agoraphobic. And when I found this teaching, if I walked into this room, and at that time I still had my husband, and he was bigger, way bigger than I was, and I'd sort of hide, I could hide behind him because he was big enough. I could just kind of step around behind him, and then I wouldn't have to introduce myself, because 9 chances out of 10 I'd forget my name. I had so much fear. And that was one of my first demonstrations, was to begin to, actually, everybody should have a prayer list going all the time. Always. We should be working on it every single day. It should be something that we want right now. It should be something for fun. It should be something that draws more people into your life. If you have a challenge with somebody, that person should be on your prayer list. Let's put this person into the love light, and let's heal. This teaching that we love and we study is so phenomenal that it always works for us. And as we work with it, we just get better at it all the time, and we can demonstrate faster. So I was just blessed because my husband and I found this teaching at the same time. We both jumped in with both feet, and we both lived it. And it was really a beautiful sharing. But what I wanted to tell you about that was that I learned to express myself. And I outgrew the agoraphobia. Mm-hmm. And this is back in the days when if you had it too bad, because I had some other things that I had that was, well, too bad, because it was before there was any kind of medication or any kind of surgery or anything that could straighten out what I had. I just had to live with it. So instead of living with it, I said, not doing this. I know absolutely, I know for myself and I know for all of you, that we can move with this power, this divine power that is flowing through all of us right now and beating our hearts and breathing our lungs and growing our hair and blinking our eyes, because it's life and it's pulsating in and through us. And it's intelligence and it's thinking in and through us. And it's either saying, that's really true, I believe that, or I don't know. To me it sounds like a crock. And in the middle of all of that, we decide what is right for us. And what is right for me is being able to walk with my God, and if all of a sudden an opportunity comes to me to express, I can say, hey, help. I need an opportunity to express. I need a way to share my belief in the ongoingness of life. Because I know that there is great beauty, and I know there is absolute oneness in all of us. It's breathing us, and it's bringing us into our next experience of the day. And I just feel so blessed to have the opportunity to share this with you today, because I know that my friend really did have an after life experience, and she really did see her little dog, and she really was thrilled about it because I saw her, and I heard her, and I believed her. And so we know for everyone who is experiencing this transitioning process, Gay and her family, people that we know, the opportunity is there for us to call upon our God and say, help me, support me in knowing the truth of this experience. Help me and support me in holding this relationship in the light, that I may always have it from here to eternity, because I know the rightness in it, because it is based in love. And so I just wanted to share this with you, and I want you to know this is my truth, and if you would like to talk about it, ask me. We'd have a lovely conversation about the rightness and the truth of eternality, because we are all eternal, because we do share an experience that we call life after life. So I thank you. I thank you.